The Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. I swore I'd never try to ride this bike again. I'm 5'8", but cursed with a 28-inch inseam. The first Himalayan 450 I tried, I couldn't even lift it off the side stand when sat on the bike. Trying to upright it from that ridiculous lean angle actually hurt my back. But 3 days and 820 kilometers later, on a lowered Himalayan 450, I've completely changed my mind. Here's what the bike is really like for short-legged riders. About 2 years ago, most of us were glued to itchy boots riding around India on the pre-production Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, the first liquid-cooled Royal Enfield. The hype was unreal, the Sherpa engine was all the rage. So when I finally got my hands on the Himalayan 450, just after the UK release, I was buzzing until I actually sat on it. I couldn't even upright it from that side stand when I sat on the bike. It felt too top heavy, the lean angle on the stand was ridiculous, and as a short rider, my confidence was gone. Not one review was mentioning the height problem, so I thought I would. My one and only video until today, where I got lots of negative comments.
You should change your video to "I'm an epic fail." You can't blame the bike because you're not strong enough to lift it. I mean, Itchy Boots is shorter than you and did just fine.
Clickbait rubbish, unsubscribed.
This is disinformation. No way someone can't lift it off the side stand at 196 kilograms. All 199 kilogram, and even small guys from India could lift it. This is a joke. Dislike and report.
Then I watched Joe Ryan, Freddie Dobbs and many other top YouTubers falling off or stepping off their Himalayan 450s, and honestly that finished it for me. I swore I would never ride this bike. Fast forward to this year, I reviewed the Gorilla 450 and was happy at last to experience the first liquid-cooled Royal Enfield engine for the first time. So now it's time for me to sit on the bike. 780 millimeters apparently. We're going to put that to the test. When I did this on the Himalayan, I couldn't do it. On the side stand, put my leg over, stand it upright. I couldn't even do that with the Himalayan 450. On this bike, no problem at all. So the same engine, much better for me. So would I prefer this over the Himalayan? 100%. I do realise now that my technique was wrong. So what people were saying to me is I should have turned the steering to the right, put my weight on here and push forward. That doesn't make it easier. But what I was worried about was the bike going over the point of balance and not knowing how far I had to go on the other side. I didn't want to drop a brand new bike. The Gorilla, the so-called hooligan's bike, and that engine did something to me. I found myself riding it faster and harder into corners. I didn't want to, the bike just made me. So when I was offered a lowered Himalayan 450 with the same 450 engine, I wasn't exactly optimistic, but I thought, what harm can there be in just sitting on it? To my surprise, this one had been lowered with a lower seat and a lowering link on the rear, and I could 98% flat-footed. 3 days and 820 kilometers later on the Mae Hong Song loop, just corners, corners and more corners, I'd gone from refusing to ride a Himalayan 450 to completely falling in love with it. It was like a James Bond moment, Sean Connery, never say never. In this video, I'm going to show you what this bike is really like for a short rider on a lowered Himalayan 450 with that hooligan 450 engine on one of Thailand's best touring roads. I never ever saw myself riding the Himalayan 450, but here it is. It's a lowered seat, slightly lowered suspension. I can ride it on top of the world, on top of a Himalayan 450. I didn't ever think that would be achievable for me, but this low seat height, I can do it. And boy, boy, what have I been missing out on all these years? What a fantastic bike. It's just incredible that a year and a half ago when this bike first came out, I was so gutted that I couldn't ride it. Really enjoying it, only 2 hours in, and enjoying the mountain views. Look at them, stunning. I was genuinely worried that this bike would feel top heavy in corners with that big high fuel tank. Reality is, I'm cornering harder and faster than I usually do. This bike just wants to go fast. Straights, corners, it doesn't matter. Where it changes is downhill corners. I notice I have to slow down more. The engine braking doesn't feel totally consistent on the way down, so I'm a little bit more cautious. But as soon as the road goes uphill, it's like a switch that flips. I just want to overtake everything. That 450 engine really comes alive on the climbs. For the taller riders out there that may be watching this video, I really want to explain something, because from the outside it may look like short riders like myself are always complaining about seat height, which is kind of true. But riding the bike is not the problem. The problem occurs when you stop or when you ride at slow speeds, especially on gradients or rutted trails after heavy rain. Imagine this, in perfect conditions, on flat tarmac, I'm already on tiptoes. That means in a non-so-perfect condition, a cambered road, a pothole, a rut, a rain-washed track, I literally can't reach the ground without the bike leaning over. And this is exactly where the tall centre of gravity works against you. The moment it leans past a certain point, the weight just goes, and as a short rider, you've got nothing left to save it. The bike is going down, not because you're riding too fast, but because you just stopped. I used to own a CRF 250, another tiptoe bike for me. I ended up selling it because I was fed up constantly dropping it. Not at speed, not doing anything heroic, just coming to a halt, losing that last bit of footing, and over it goes. It's embarrassing, it breaks mirrors, and it absolutely kills your confidence. That's why I really like the setup of this lowered Himalayan. It's such a big deal for me. It doesn't suddenly turn me into Marc Marquez, it just means that I stop. I'm not gambling every time the road surface isn't perfect. Now this really surprised me. For the first time ever, a Royal Enfield rear shock I'm not complaining about. I found it really good. I was expecting it to be a bit harsh, especially as a short rider, where every bump can unsettle your footing, but it wasn't like that at all. There was no sudden jolts, no nasty kicks up the spine. It just smoothed out all the little undulations in the road really nicely. The seat, however, is on the firmer side. It's not torture, but every hour or so I did find myself sliding around and shifting position just to get comfortable again. The good news is that little shuffle bought me another hour each time, so it's perfectly fine for a day's ride. Just don't expect sofa comfort. Now let's talk about the engine, because this is not your traditional low-end Royal Enfield thumper. If you're expecting that lazy, lumpy chug-along torque from idle, this isn't it. It tries to pull down low, but honestly it's much happier higher up in the revs. It really reminds me of an old two-stroke from the 80s. Once you hit that certain power band, that RPM, it just wakes up and takes off. There's a proper little kick when it comes into song, and it's a lot of fun if you're willing to rev it. The rumble of a Harley in front. This bike handles so well that I've got the confidence to overtake and open it up when needed. Because it's lower than the standard Himalayan, I've got the confidence. I don't feel top heavy. Oh, I wish I knew this years ago. I did find the engine a little bit vibey though. I could feel a light buzz through the frame and through the foot pegs, and I definitely found myself stopping for a pee break more often than usual. Maybe that's not entirely a bad thing at my age. A little unintended prostate massage from Royal Enfield but if you're very sensitive to vibrations, this is something to be aware of. So my love and hate relationship with the Himalayan 450 has finally ended. I've ended up loving that bike, and I understand where the hate came from when I said bad things about that bike initially, but I only like the Himalayan 450 if it's lowered. The low seat option, which wasn't available for me at the time I reviewed that bike, and the lowering link on the back. So the 450 is definitely a bike that I would consider in the future. Actually, I think the 450 Himalayan is a more suitable bike for me. Living in rural Thailand, I can travel the roads very fast, I can overtake everything very fast, and I've got off-road capability as well. So I'm now thinking the 450 is a much more suitable bike for me. The silly thing is, on that very morning, I bought this bike. So I rented the Himalayan 450 in the afternoon, but in the morning, before I even rode that bike, I bought this one. This is going to be the new channel bike. I'm going to custom this and try and make it into my own classic 650. That's the plan. And the silly thing is, for an extra £2,500, I could have bought a brand new Himalayan 450, and now I've got an old 5-year-old Interceptor. But I am liking the bike. I've rode it a few times already. The only thing that I hate about the Interceptor is the middle pegs, right? They're right in your shins, so that's something I need to move, and just custom the wings and custom a few little bits and pieces, lower it a little bit. Even though it's a high seat height, because the frame is so narrow, I can actually flat foot this bike. So yeah, this is probably the bike I should have bought before the Meteor. The Himalayan 450, really loved it, and what I also loved was the TFT display, especially the navigation. There was a few little glitches with it, but once those were solved, that navigated me 8 hours there, 8 hours back. So 16 hours of navigation faultless on the TFT display. So I've decided to make a video about that as well, how to use it, how to update it, etc. I think since the software update it works a lot better. So if you want to see that video, how to use the TFT display, etc., I'm going to put a link here in the next few days. Anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, ride safe.